All right. Hey, everybody. As we're looking to get started right now, just let me know real quick if everything looks and sounds okay, and we'll get going. Okay, just waiting for some responses here. Awesome. Everything sounds good. So we're waiting right now to hear from the president-elect, Joe Biden. This has been a big day. Obviously, this morning, Pennsylvania called the race. Pennsylvania was called for Joe Biden. Shortly thereafter, Nevada was called for Joe Biden, which, surprised we finally heard from Nevada. I was hoping that we would hear from Nevada at some point in the middle of Biden's first term. So the fact that we did hear from Nevada today was a huge surprise. So as we look toward hearing this speech, this will be Joe Biden's first address of the entire country as the president-elect, as the 46th president of the United States. So as soon as they go live, don't worry, I will shut up and you'll hear from him and not me. In the meantime, something that I do want to bring to your attention is the fact that today is, a great day to celebrate. There is a ton to celebrate here. We basically, stopped our own descent into authoritarianism, and that's a huge deal. And so now, I just want to let you know that the fight isn't over. That we still have 2 races pending in Georgia, and those are for that's basically going to be control of the Senate. So we have 4 races in total for the Senate that we haven't heard from. We have 1 in Alaska with Al Gross. We have 1 in North Carolina with Cal Cunningham. Those races are less likely than the 2 races that we have in Georgia right now, which are with John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock. And so why that's important is because those 2 races are in a state that Joe Biden has just proved Democrats can win statewide in. So we have the momentum in that state. We have, everything is pointing to the fact that state is went from a ruby red state to blue now. And so there's no reason why we can't just keep that going, especially considering if Joe Biden had enough popularity to actually get elected in Georgia, one would think that Joe Biden's legislative agenda, which hinges on a Democratic Senate, would also have that same popularity, that same mandate from voters. So, we'll celebrate today and take today to do all the things that we've deprived ourselves of doing in the last week, like eating food and sleeping more than 5 hours because God forbid we miss something that happens between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. and also something that happens between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So my sleep schedule, at least I can speak from my own personal experience, hasn't been the best, the most enviable schedule in the world. But I'm excited to get one full night of sleep, and then tomorrow the work begins. Because what we'll have to do is look toward Georgia and invest as much as we can. Take all of the energy that you had expended in states around the country, from Arizona to North Carolina to Texas and Florida, Maine, every state around the country that you had wanted to see a race go our way, or that you had donated to a candidate in, or volunteered, or phone banked, or just something as simple as tweeted about, or gone out and voted in, and direct all of that energy toward what's happening in Georgia right now. Because the truth is that without the Senate, it's going to be leagues more difficult for Joe Biden to enact his agenda. We've seen firsthand what a Senate led by Mitch McConnell is capable of, and what they're capable of obstructing. So I think if enacting Joe Biden's agenda, which is, and the Democratic agenda as a whole, which is, addressing climate change, which is addressing the issue that healthcare has been on the chopping block, which is addressing LGBT rights, which is addressing Roe and a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body, $15 minimum wage. I mean, it goes on, right? So if these issues are important to you, and you want Joe Biden to actually have the opportunity to be able to notch some legislative wins during at least the first 2 years of his term, then the Senate is just as important as this presidential race. And I can't stress that enough. So tonight, we celebrate, we relax, we, listen, we'll listen to this speech and for the first time in 4 years, hear what it's like to have a president who isn't a, self-obsessed, narcissistic, egomaniacal despot who doesn't know how to do anything other than speak and run on sentences, and ultimately just knows how to congratulate himself for his own accomplishments, even though those accomplishments were owed to other people, and deflect from his own failures. So that's what we'll do tonight, and then tomorrow the work begins. So it's the same deal. We have 1 month from basically now until December 5th to register as many new voters as is humanly possible in the state of Georgia. And if you're watching from Georgia, you're in the enviable position of being able to really reach these people, right where you are. And that's a huge luxury, a huge benefit, a huge opportunity for you to have. Otherwise, in terms of the rest of us who don't live in Georgia, there are going to be plenty of opportunities to donate to Jon Ossoff, to donate to Warnock, to donate to Stacey Abrams and Fair Fight. And that's her organization, by the way. I know a lot of people have asked, what we can do to help. And Stacey Abrams' organization is Fair Fight, and they have been instrumental in flipping what would otherwise be considered a ruby red state, the state of Georgia, a state that hasn't voted for a Democrat in the presidential race since 1992. In a lot of our lifetimes. Younger viewers, older viewers, you remember. But anyway, Stacey Abrams was able to register 800,000 voters, which is incredible because she ran for governor in 2018, and that election was effectively stolen from her. And I think anybody who's willing to acknowledge reality can acknowledge the fact that gubernatorial race was stolen from Stacey Abrams. And instead of doing what effectively every other candidate does, which is, after their election, they'll just kind of either disappear or gear up for their next run, or maybe throw some weight behind some other candidates. Stacey Abrams really proved to the country that she wants to address these issues. And so, they created an entire ground game, and we've just seen the fruits of that. Biden's lead, I believe, in Georgia right now is coming up on 8,000 votes. That's not a 400 vote difference, 8,000 votes. It'll likely still go to recount territory, but we're unlikely to see any difference from a recount. There have been recounts before. In 2011 in Wisconsin, there was a recount. I think that ultimately ended up with a difference of about 300 votes. In 2016, Jill Stein ordered a recount in Wisconsin. That turned out to be the difference of 131 votes, I believe. Joe Biden's lead is about 8,000 votes in the state of Georgia. So, I know that Trump is going to hold out hope that the recount is going to deliver some vindication to him, but it's not. And I think, that's owed in large part to someone like Stacey Abrams. So, she'll be our North Star as we head into this next period of 2 months where basically we have the next month to register as many people as possible. And then the actual runoff races themselves are going to be on January 5th, 2021. So it'll be just 2 weeks before Joe Biden takes office. And the best thing that we can do is make sure that he's taking office with the ability to actually bring his agenda into fruition. And that's an agenda that focuses largely on renewables and transitioning away from fossil fuels. And I know that he hasn't, that his thing was that he's not going to ban fracking, but part of the reason that he has said that is because his plan is a transition away from those things. So, whether that was his position for the general, which is fine if whatever it takes to win this election, but now is the time when it comes to transition away from these things. His plan is to, most importantly, address the virus and get relief to people. And we've seen how willing Mitch McConnell is to actually play ball when it comes to delivering relief to the American people who need it, who've been impacted by this virus. And then, the list goes on from a $15 minimum wage to climate change legislation, which is desperately needed and not the kind of thing where you can just say, let's just wait until we get unified control of government. As soon as we have a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate, then we'll finally tackle climate change. This isn't that kind of a thing. Climate change needed to have been dealt with yesterday. So every day longer that we wait, that we're not addressing this, that we're not tackling this head on, it is a day that there's no way to say this that doesn't make it sound hysterical, but the fact is that that's the urgency that it deserves. It is a day that puts humanity at risk. We're one day closer to putting humanity at risk by not addressing these issues. So that's how important the Senate is. I know that I've spent my entire time speaking about the Georgia Senate race, and that's not to take away from the accomplishments that we've achieved today, but I think that it's not going to be lost on anybody how important the Senate is going to be. And I also want to point out, somebody just pointed out to me in the comments as well, that the Black Male Voter Project registered over 1 million people in Georgia, which is an absolutely incredible accomplishment. And I think something that we've seen too, that all of us have to acknowledge now, just like we acknowledged in 2018 and 2016, is that people of color have been the ones that have brought it home for Democrats, the backbone of this party. When Georgia was still falling in Trump's favor in terms of the votes, when Pennsylvania was still falling in favor in terms of Trump's votes, a lot of the votes, a lot of the population centers included vast amounts of people of color, and those were the votes that were falling in Biden's favor by margins of 70, 80, 90%. So yet again, we have another election where people of color are owed the gratitude of the Democratic Party, and the Black Male Voter Project is a testament to that as well. So thank you to the person in the comments who pointed that out as well. So again, we are only minutes away from hearing from Joe Biden. This will be his first address as president-elect. And as for Donald Trump, I'm not sure that we've heard from him yet today, other than on Twitter, where he declared victory and said that he'd be the winner right now if we only counted legal votes, which is of course complete BS. And it's sad, really, that in his final moments of his presidency, what he's clinging on to, sad but fitting. Final moments of his presidency, he's still clinging on to conspiratorial BS and pretending that there's some type of, you know, mass fraud happening. And I think that the reason for that is because he knows that this was just solely a repudiation of him. It wasn't. Republicans gained seats in the House. They held on to endangered seats in the Senate. They held on to state legislatures and gained across the country. It wasn't that Republicans themselves did poorly in this election. It was that Donald Trump himself unilaterally did poorly in this election. So I think that's the part that hurts most. He can't even say that just that Democrats rigged the system against him, because if we rigged the system against the Republican Party, then we would have rigged it in such a way that where we would actually lose seats in the House, where we would fail to pick up seats that we should have picked up in Iowa and Maine and you know, all across the country. So we rigged it, but we rigged it so poorly that we actually lost seats everywhere, failed to flip state legislatures, lost a bunch of House seats, and failed to flip the Senate, but we took Donald Trump's seat. It makes perfect sense. Totally checks out. And so I think that's the hardest part for Trump to accept, is that it wasn't about, he can't blame the Democrats, yet again engaging in these voter fraud schemes to do whatever, because it's just about him. That's the only person that this is about. It was a repudiation of Donald Trump as an individual. He was the one who lost. So I think that's going to be the most difficult part. Of course, that hasn't stopped him from reaching out to his supporters with some desperate emails saying, help raise money. We'll match all your money 1,000% today only, but we need this money right now so we can fight this illegal, scheme by the Democrats to steal this election in court. It is one last final grift for a group of people whose only competence lies in their ability to grift, to steal money away from people, to pilfer the dollars that they're the donors who were suckered into donating have given them so far, and they'll continue to do that. I don't know if anybody had the chance to see Rudy Giuliani's press conference that was located in an alley between a lawn mowing company and a sex shop today, but it was quite the scene. So that's what Rudy Giuliani is up to. He is up to exactly what you think he is up to. If I had to ask you, where do you think Giuliani would be today? And I gave you 3 options, and one of those options was that he would be in an alley between a sex shop and a lawn mowing company, screaming about Democrats' grand conspiracy to commit voter fraud and steal the election away from Donald Trump, with 6 news cameras that included OAN, Fox News, and Newsmax. I think that would be a perfectly believable alternative. I think that's what anybody in their right mind would choose, which is funny at one point, but then also sad. I grew up in New Jersey, and I was a big Yankees fan, and Rudy Giuliani was my hero. I have a signed picture in my house of Rudy Giuliani and Joe Torre, who was the general manager of the Yankees, in 2001, right after the World Trade Center came down, and they were standing on the rubble. Rudy Giuliani signed that picture. He was my hero, and it just, it hurts my heart to see what he has become, and what he's become is just, it is a laughingstock of this country. He is the embodiment of the worst of Fox News, the embodiment of the worst conspiracy theories and lunacy and that you'd see on Fox News. He's he's a walking comment section for a Fox video. So that's Rudy Giuliani. And one thing I'm looking forward to is hopefully the media learning to stop giving oxygen to people like that, and for people to stop paying attention to people like that, because it has been a long 4 years of the most insane people that we have in this country getting elevated, failing up, getting elevated to positions of power that they have no right being in, from, Richard Grenell as DNI, who is nothing more than a Twitter troll, to Rudy Giuliani, who belongs, in in a nursing home, and that is not to say anything poorly about nursing homes, but like he belongs somewhere where he can just be wearing slippers all day and take a load off, because his his brain's cooked at this point. All the way to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, whose qualifications to serve at the highest levels of government include manufacturing handbags in China and inheriting a real estate company from your parents. I mean, these people are not qualified to be in government. So one good thought that I had today was, this is the end of the days of watching Betsy DeVos wreak havoc on our government. This is the end of watching Bill Barr and Jared and Ivanka and Kayleigh McEnany go up there and just spew utter bullshit to people. This is the end of people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders just before her. The end of all of these corrupt administration officials who were always more interested in helping themselves than they ever were in helping this country. Going back to, I think Trump's Interior Secretary, Ryan Zinke, granted a no-bid contract to 2 people in his hometown in Montana, I think, to rebuild the infrastructure of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria just completely devastated the island. A brand new company that had just miraculously came into existence 5 minutes earlier, that had 2 people located in Zinke's hometown, and all of a sudden they were charged with rebuilding the entire infrastructure in Puerto Rico. So it has been an absolute grift, an absolute pilfering of the American taxpayer since day one. And it will be so nice to have competent people in there, so nice to have people who are actually qualified to be in the positions that they hold. I just read that Joe Biden is already going to assemble his coronavirus task force on Monday, which is, that's what leadership is, right? I mean, this is every day that we're seeing right now is worse than the day before in terms of the number of cases in this country. And yet, all we're seeing from this administration is the same denialism that got us to where we are to this position in the first place. Just yesterday, it was announced that Mark Meadows, Trump's chief of staff, himself contracted coronavirus. I mean, these people are walking monuments to their own failure to contain this thing. If they can keep themselves safe, then that explains fully why it's been allowed to explode throughout this country. So, I think we've seen that put on full display, and it will be nice to finally have adults in charge. I mean, we've seen this administration with the Obama-Biden administration already successfully navigate 2 pandemics between Ebola and then H1N1, where Trump decided to make that some last-ditch campaign issue, like the Biden administration's failure to contain H1N1. There were 12,500 deaths during H1N1, which is 12,500 too many. But the fact is that if you're going to point to 12,500 deaths and call that a failure, then what in the world would you call 235,000 deaths? I mean, there is such a cognitive dissonance. It just doesn't, there's something that doesn't compute when they make these arguments. It's like they weren't, they were just banking on the fact that everyone was born one day earlier. That we don't know that when you attack the Obama-Biden administration's handling of a virus, that we can't just say, oh, well, 12,500. If it's that bad, then yeah, I'd imagine that you'd have some pretty bad things to say about a virus that is 200 times worse, or whatever the math is. So yeah, I mean, if you can see right now, it looks like Joe Biden's motorcade is heading toward the stage where he will be addressing the country in a few minutes. So just stick around. I see that some people are asking questions, so let me see if I can read anything. That's what's happened during the Trump administration. I lost my eyesight, and my hair started turning gray. So 2 good things that I have going for me over the last 4 years. Joe Biden it's unlikely that Joe Biden will be able to do anything about coronavirus himself between now and January 20th, but assembling this task force will allow him to tackle the problem on day one when he gets into office. So this isn't the kind of thing where you wait until you're settled in. You have, you have all of your legislative priorities in front of you. This is the kind of thing where you start now, and then on January 20th, the second you have power, you start implementing it. You start, I'm sure that he's going to create a nationwide testing and contact tracing system. He's going to create a public health jobs corps where they'll employ 100,000 Americans to help carry out those efforts of testing and contact tracing. They'll start working on a vaccine that will be based on science and not the political calendar, which is something to look forward to. I'm sure that what we can see is what we'll be able to see is no miracle cures, which will be a fun change of pace, that we won't be told to inject disinfectant, that we won't be hawked. We won't have a president up there hawking whatever drugs somebody whispered in his ear 5 minutes before he went on to stage. So yeah, I mean, this virus will be dealt with responsibly and effectively, and that's something that we haven't seen. That's something that we haven't seen from this administration since day one, and it's what's allowed this virus to explode so aggressively throughout this country. So another point is, with regard to opening this country back up, I know that Republicans' most potent attack against Democrats is they want to keep the country shut down. Well, no. Democrats not only don't want to keep the country shut down, but Democrats were the only ones willing to address the issue that's keeping the country shut down, which is this virus. The fact is that what we all know is that the virus isn't going to go away so long as, the economy isn't going to come back to normal so long as we have this virus ripping through the country. So long as people are afraid to go out to stores and restaurants and stadiums, so long as people continue, to contract this thing and die, so long as schools open and kids go in and then outbreaks. Then we have outbreaks that follow, and children contract the virus, and they pass it along to their parents and grandparents and loved ones. I mean, until and unless we get this virus under control, it's going to be more of the same. This country will continue staying shut down. So you would think that the people who are yelling the loudest to have this country reopen are the ones who are willing to take the one simple step that's necessary to actually get it reopened. And that's containing this virus. So that's my spiel on on coronavirus. It'll be nice to have not only to have Joe in there navigating this entire process, but the fact that they're getting started on Monday morning should make everybody feel good about the fact that it's going to be put under control. So I see that there's some people writing in the comments too that they work in hospitals, that they work in ICU. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for putting your life on the line, because that's what happened over the last 6 months. The people who worked in hospitals, that their lives were risked. I'm sure I know that we've lost many doctors and nurses along the way. So thanks to the people who are taking care of everybody in this country. I know my parents as well. My parents are both healthcare workers. I'm sure people who've listened to me have heard me talk about them before. So I have a lot of respect for people who work in the healthcare field, especially at this point in time. So thank you to the people who are out there who are watching, who do work in healthcare. That's what's made a huge difference. So let's see. Looks like we are just moments away, seconds away from Joe Biden taking the stage. And as soon as he does, we'll throw it over to him. By the way, in the meantime, while we wait, you can throw some questions up, and I'll try to answer them. In the meantime, too, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please just hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. I try to put out a couple videos a day, usually just 5-minute clips of whatever the most important thing happening in the day was. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, that's the best way to support me, is to please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you're looking for my podcast, the name of my podcast is No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, and it's on every podcast platform. So if you're interested in hearing my podcast, hearing interviews that I've done with Congress people, senators, I interviewed Kamala Harris, then you can find my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. Tomorrow on my YouTube channel and on the podcast, I'm going to have an interview with Congressman Jamie Raskin, and I ask every question that I've been asked about what Trump can do in terms of litigating these results in the courts, in terms of what the Supreme Court can do to help him, in terms of can he pardon himself? Could he pardon somebody else? Could he pardon administration officials who are corrupt before they've been charged with something? So, like, we know, for example, that Louis DeJoy, the Postmaster General, has legal exposure. Can Donald Trump pardon Louis DeJoy preemptively? I also ask, what happens if Donald Trump doesn't leave office? Like, physically doesn't leave office? Who's in charge of dragging him out of there? So I ask all these questions to Congressman Jamie Raskin. Jamie Raskin was a constitutional law professor at, I believe, American University before getting elected to Congress. He is brilliant, and the interview is fantastic. So I'm really excited to share that with everybody here. So when you get a chance, again, subscribe to my channel. I think if you hit the bell and get alerts, you'll see that video come out tomorrow as soon as it's ready. But Jamie Raskin, and he actually answers the questions. It's not, he doesn't do the whole politician dancing around. So that will be a very informative issue. If you have any questions about, okay, what can Trump still do? How can he still, bend the law to his will to benefit himself and his friends? So that'll be something to look forward to. Somebody asked, when will I have Mary Trump on again now that her uncle is lost? Mary Trump is wonderful, and I'm in contact with her. So I'll see when there's a good time to bring her back on, but I would love to speak to her again. I'm sure it'll be a much different tone of interview than we had the first time, which was obviously, any interview prior to Trump losing this election is obviously very foreboding and heavy. So it'll be great to talk to Mary again. Okay, again, we're waiting for Joe Biden to take the stage. This will be his first address to the nation as the president-elect, 46th president of the United States. Somebody asked, how long do I think it'll take Biden to reverse the damage Trump has done? Trump has done a lot of damage over the last 4 years. Fortunately, a lot of what Trump has done has been done by executive order. And so luckily, Joe Biden will be able to undo a lot of that by executive order. I know a lot of the climate, the environmental regulations that were overturned by Trump, which is, numbers into the hundreds, those were done largely by executive order. So look for Biden to take some swift action on those. And those are, allowing companies to dump chemicals into streams, allowing methane to be released in the atmosphere, allowing, fighting California's fuel economy standards. So these are all things that can be done by fiat, done by executive order. But obviously, what this underscores again is the need for us to get the Senate, because a lot of what we need to do needs to be achieved legislatively. And so that's why the Senate is so important, especially when it comes to climate change, when it comes to LGBT rights, when it comes to raising the minimum wage, when it comes to, expanding healthcare for people around the country, when it comes to any issue that's important for our progressive agenda, for the Democratic agenda, would likely be stalled in a Republican-led Senate. And we don't have to look far. All you have to do is look right to 2010, which was when Republicans took majority of the Senate during Barack Obama's term. So what we really want to do is make sure that we give ourselves the option to let Joe Biden enact the mandate that he's been given by virtue of having been elected by the most Americans in the history of this country. So again, today we celebrate. We'll listen to this speech. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. And then tomorrow we get back to work, and we have about 2 months before we have to make sure that we send Ossoff and Warnock to the United States Senate from Georgia, and we could do it. So we've just shown that a Democrat can win Georgia. It's not that race hasn't been called, but it's Joe Biden is up by almost 8,000 votes. So that is as close to a sure thing as we can get. There will likely be a recount in Georgia because it's that close, but again, recounts aren't typically going to flip any races, especially when it's not the difference between hundreds of votes, but it's the difference between almost, coming up on 10,000 votes. Some people are asking if I'd get involved myself in politics. I don't think so. I think progressive media is important. Not only is progressive media important, but we've seen the danger of allowing, the right wing to kind of have a monopoly on not only independent media, but an unaccountable, conservative media ecosystem, and how much it can help a president, especially when he's looking to exercise his corruption in plain sight. I mean, there's no doubt that if Richard Nixon had Fox News back when the Watergate scandal happened, that he'd have still been in office. What Trump's done is leagues worse than anything Richard Nixon did, and he resigned. The pressure was so great. But now what this conservative media ecosystem has done is basically given protection for these Republicans to do whatever they want and act with complete impunity. And we saw that to a degree that was just remarkable this year. So, it really went to show that there is no limit to what a Republican president would do and still get support from the Fox Newses of the world, OANs, and everybody that we see on Facebook, and the whole conservative media ecosystem has just been there to carry water for Trump while he was doing. If any Democrat did 5% of what Donald Trump did, I mean, it would just be an absolute avalanche of condemnations from the right. But Trump can, absolutely decimate every shred of our government that he can, and preside over the fourth deadliest event, mass casualty event in American history, and still they're running, falling over themselves to get the guy reelected. He came into office with a 4.7% unemployment rate. Unemployment rate is 7% now. He came into office with Obama having delivered him 12 million new jobs and 75 straight months of growth, and now we have a net 4 million job loss, and we are mired in a recession. So, any way you cut it, I think that this has been a failure, and yet the Republican Party hasn't seen that. So, let's do a real quick test. I just want to make sure the audio works, so I'm going to switch over to the debate. So let me know if you're able to hear everything okay. This way there's no issues when Joe Biden comes on stage. I'm sorry, not the debate, this speech. Cool. All right. Well, everything works, so sounds good. And as soon as Biden takes the stage, we'll switch right over to them. I also want to take this time to give a shout out to a company that has helped me immensely, and that is a company called Pop-Up Wi-Fi. And if everybody's streaming from home, everyone's working from home, if you're looking for internet that managed internet that actually works, I would use a company called Pop-Up Wi-Fi. So there's a unit that was delivered to my house that is basically separate internet. So I'm hardwired into my computer. So even if my at-home Wi-Fi falters and screws up, it goes in and out, my stream doesn't go out. So I know I've had some issues with that in the past, and they have saved my ass. So Pop-Up Wi-Fi, again, if you work in streaming, or you're looking just for internet that absolutely works, managed internet, you can either use it as Wi-Fi or you can hardwire into it. Check out Pop-Up Wi-Fi. A lot of people ask what my setup is. That is the most important aspect of my setup, to make sure that I have uninterrupted managed internet. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. So again, we're waiting for Biden to take the stage. It should be any moment now, and this will be his first speech as the president-elect. some people are asking about Georgia. And again, if you're going to be watching my channel over the next 2 months, I can promise you that not a day will go by where we don't discuss the Senate race in Georgia. So I will give you every single piece of advice I can. I'll any way that I can raise money, any way that I can raise eyeballs, any way we can help register people, any place we can donate, phone banking, text banking, helping canvass, whatever there is to do in Georgia, I will be on board. This is the last piece of the puzzle. This is the most important part. So definitely looking forward to spending the next 2 months, trying to get this one last thing done. I mean, we basically, before that Senate race with David Perdue and Jon Ossoff went to a runoff, before Perdue fell below that 50% threshold that he needed to exceed in order to win outright, to see the Senate kind of go up in smoke, and you just realize that everything we've worked for, like, yeah, we got Trump out of office, but half of the equation is actually getting to our agenda, getting to enact our agenda, and all of the things that we've spent so much time investing ourselves in and caring about. So yeah, I think any way that I can help in Georgia, I promise you that you will hear from me about that. So do I have to register again to run in the runoff race? If you're already registered, you should be fine. I'm also going to try to get Stacey Abrams. I'm going to try to get Reverend Warnock. I'm going to try to get Jon Ossoff on to my channel so that we can hear firsthand from them, because I think it would be great to actually hear from these people. So I'm going to do my best to get them to come on. Okay, we are moments away. Joe Biden's motorcade arrived about 10 minutes ago, so he should be taking the stage any minute now. And I can tell you, if I hope there is one person watching, that is Donald Trump. And I think that there'll be, something tells me that they're going to be streaming this on every single network, including Fox. So it's likely that Trump is going to hear this, even as he's mired in his own delusional state, wherein he thinks he's still the president, or that he won by millions more votes than Joe Biden did. I know he's been crowing about how Joe Biden's votes are all illegal, but Donald Trump's votes are all legal, which is super convenient. But it is complete BS. And you can see on the screens right here that the screens say the people have chosen, and then they, it has all the different things. But the fact is, I think what the point that they're trying to make with this is that this thing is over. And this wouldn't be a point that we would need to normally make, but we also don't normally have a president in Donald Trump who, refuses to accept reality as it stands. So, and here we have Kamala Harris. So let's
Good evening, I'm Lester Holt with a Decision 2020 special report. We want to go right to Wilmington, Delaware. President-elect Joe Biden is about to address the nation following an introduction by Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. She is on stage now. Let's listen.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. So, thank you. Good evening. So, Congressman John Lewis, before his passing, wrote, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act." And what he meant was that America's democracy is not guaranteed. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. To guard it and never take it for granted. And protecting our democracy takes struggle, it takes sacrifice, but there is joy in it, and there is progress, because we, the people, have the power to build a better future. And when our very democracy was on the ballot in this election, with the very soul of America at stake, and the world watching, you ushered in a new day for America. To our campaign staff and volunteers, this extraordinary team, thank you for bringing more people than ever before into the democratic process. And for making this victory possible. To the poll workers and election officials across our country who have worked tirelessly to make sure every vote is counted, our nation owes you a debt of gratitude. You have protected the integrity of our democracy. And to the American people who make up our beautiful country, thank you for turning out in record numbers to make your voices heard. And I know times have been challenging, especially the last several months. The grief, sorrow, and pain, the worries and the struggles. But we have also witnessed your courage, your resilience, and the generosity of your spirit. For 4 years, you marched and organized for equality and justice, for our lives and for our planet. And then you voted. And you delivered a clear message. You chose hope and unity, decency, science, and yes, truth. You chose Joe Biden as the next president of the United States of America. And Joe is a healer, a uniter, a tested and steady hand, a person whose own experience of loss gives him a sense of purpose that will help us as a nation reclaim our own sense of purpose. And a man with a big heart who loves with abandon. It's his love for Jill, who will be an incredible First Lady. It's his love for Hunter and Ashley and his grandchildren and the entire Biden family. And while I first knew Joe as vice president, I really got to know him as the father who loved Bo, my dear friend who we remember here today. And to my husband, Doug, children, Cole and Ella, and my sister Maya, and our whole family. I love you all more than I can ever express. We are so grateful to Joe and Jill for welcoming our family into theirs on this incredible journey. And to the woman most responsible for my presence here today, my mother, Kamala Harris, who is always in our hearts. When she came here from India at the age of 19, she maybe didn't quite imagine this moment, but she believed so deeply in an America where a moment like this is possible. And so I am thinking about her and about the generations of women, Black women, Asian, white, Latina, Native American women, who throughout our nation's history have paved the way for this moment tonight. Women who fought and sacrificed so much for equality and liberty and justice for all, including the Black women who are often, too often, overlooked, but so often prove they are the backbone of our democracy. All the women who have worked to secure and protect the right to vote for over a century, 100 years ago with the 19th Amendment, 55 years ago with the Voting Rights Act, and now in 2020 with a new generation of women in our country who cast their ballots and continued the fight for their fundamental right to vote and be heard. Tonight I reflect on their struggle, their determination, and the strength of their vision to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And I stand on their shoulders. And what a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to break one of the most substantial barriers that exists in our country and select a woman as his vice president. But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way. And to the American people, no matter who you voted for, I will strive to be a vice president like Joe was to President Obama, loyal, honest, and prepared, waking up every day thinking of you and your family. Because now is when the real work begins, the hard work, the necessary work, the good work, the essential work to save lives and beat this epidemic, to rebuild our economy so it works for working people, to root out systemic racism in our justice system and society, to combat the climate crisis, to unite our country and heal the soul of our nation. And the road ahead will not be easy, but America is ready. And so are Joe and I. We have elected a president who represents the best in us, a leader the world will respect and our children will look up to, a commander-in-chief who will respect our troops and keep our country safe, and a president for all Americans. And it is now my great honor to introduce the President-elect of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
You gotta love the run. He ran up.
My fellow Americans and the people who brought me to the dance, Delawareans. I see my buddy Senator Tom Carper down there, and I think Senator Coons is there, and I think the governor's around. Is that Ruth Ann? And that former Governor Ruth Ann Minner. Most importantly, my sisters-in-law, my sister Valerie. Anyway. Folks, the people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. And work with all my heart, with the confidence of the whole people, to win the confidence of all of you. And for that is what America, I believe, is about. It's about people. And that's what our administration will be all about. I sought this office to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the backbone of this nation, the middle class, and to make America respected around the world again, and to unite us here at home. It's the honor of my lifetime that so many millions of Americans have voted for that vision. And now, the work of making that vision is real. It's a task, the task of our time. Folks, as I said many times before, I'm Jill's husband. And I would not be here without her love and tireless support of Jill and my son Hunter and Ashley, my daughter, and all our grandchildren and their spouses and all our family. They're my heart. Jill's a mom, a military mom, an educator. She has dedicated her life to education. But teaching isn't just what she does, it's who she is. For American educators, this is a great day for y'all. You're going to have one of your own in the White House. And Jill's going to make a great first lady. I'm so proud of her. And I'll have the honor of serving with the fantastic vice president who you just heard from, Kamala Harris, who makes history as the first woman first black woman, the first woman from South Asian descent, the first daughter of an immigrant ever elected in this country. Don't tell me it's not possible in the United States. It's long overdue. And we're reminded tonight of those who fought so hard for so many years to make this happen. But once again, America's bent the arc of the moral universe more toward justice. Kamala, Doug, like it or not, your family, you become an honorary Biden, there's no way out. All those of you who volunteered and worked the polls in the middle of this pandemic, local elected officials, you deserve a special thanks from the entire nation. And to my campaign team and all the volunteers and all who gave so much of themselves to make this moment possible, I owe you. I owe you. I owe you everything. And to all those who supported us, I'm proud of the campaign we built and ran. I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, independents, progressives, moderates, conservatives, young, old, urban, suburban, rural, gay, straight, transgender, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. I mean it, especially those moments, and especially for those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours. I said at the outset, I wanted to represent this campaign to represent and look like America. We've done that. Now that's what I want the administration to look like and act like. For all those of you who voted for President Trump, I understand the disappointment tonight. I've lost a couple times myself. But now, let's give each other a chance. It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. They are Americans. The Bible tells us to everything there is a season, a time to build, a time to reap and a time to sow, and a time to heal. This is the time to heal in America. Now this campaign is over. What is the will of the people? What is our mandate? I believe it's this. Americans have called upon us to marshal the forces of decency, the forces of fairness, to marshal the forces of science and the forces of hope in the great battles of our time. The battle to control the virus, the battle to build prosperity, the battle to secure your family's health care, the battle to achieve racial justice and root out systemic racism in this country, and the battle to save our planet by getting climate under control, the battle to restore decency, defend democracy, and give everybody in this country a fair shot. That's all they're asking for, a fair shot. Folks, our work begins with getting COVID under control. We cannot repair the economy, restore our vitality, or relish life's most precious moments, hugging our grandchildren, our children, our birthdays, weddings, graduations, all the moments that matter most to us until we get it under control. On Monday, I will name a group of leading scientists and experts as transition advisors to help take the Biden-Harris COVID plan and convert it into an action blueprint that will start on January the 20th, 2021. That plan will be built on bedrock science. It will be constructed out of compassion, empathy, and concern. I will spare no effort, none, or any commitment to turn around this pandemic. Folks, I'm a proud Democrat, but I will govern as an American president. I'll work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as those who did. Let this grim era of demonization in America begin to end here and now. The refusal of Democrats and Republicans to cooperate with one another, it's not some mysterious force beyond our control. It's a decision, a choice we make. And if we can decide not to cooperate, then we can decide to cooperate. And I believe that this is part of the mandate given to us from the American people. They want us to cooperate in their interest. And that's the choice I'll make. And I'll call on Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike, to make that choice with me. The American story is about slow yet steadily widening the opportunities in America. And make no mistake, too many dreams have been deferred for too long. We must make the promise of the country real for everybody, no matter their race, their ethnicity, their faith, their identity, or their disability. Folks, America has always been shaped by inflection points, by moments in time where we've made hard decisions about who we are and what we want to be. Lincoln in 1860, coming to save the Union. FDR in 1932, promising a beleaguered country a new deal. JFK in 1960, pledging a new frontier. And 12 years ago, when Barack Obama made history, he told us, yes, we can. Well, folks, we stand at an inflection point. We have an opportunity to defeat despair, to build a nation of prosperity and purpose. We can do it. I know we can. I've long talked about the battle for the soul of America. We must restore the soul of America. Our nation is shaped by the constant battle between our better angels and our darkest impulses. And what presidents say in this battle matters. It's time for our better angels to prevail. Tonight, the whole world is watching America. And I believe at our best, America is a beacon for the globe. We will lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. I've always believed, many of you heard me say it, I've always believed we can define America in one word: possibilities. That in America, everyone should be given an opportunity to go as far as their dreams and God-given ability will take them. You see, I believe in the possibilities of this country. We're always looking ahead to an America that's freer and more just, ahead to an America that creates jobs with dignity and respect, ahead of America that cures diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's, ahead to an America that never leaves anyone behind, ahead of America that never gives up, never gives in. This is a great nation. It's always been a bad bet to bet against America. We're a good people. This is the United States of America. And there's never been anything we've been not able to do when we've done it together. Folks, in the last days of the campaign, I began thinking about a hymn that means a lot to me and my family, particularly my deceased son, Bo. It captures the faith that sustains me, which I believe sustains America. And I hope it can provide some comfort and solace to 230,000 Americans who've lost a loved one to this terrible virus this year. My heart goes out to each and every one of you. Hopefully this hymn gives you solace as well. It goes like this. And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, and make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand. And now together, on eagle's wings, we embark on the work that God and history have called upon us to do, with full hearts and steady hands, with faith in America and in each other, with love of country, a thirst for justice. Let us be the nation that we know we can be, a nation united, a nation strengthened, a nation healed. The United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, there's never been anything we've tried we've not been able to do. So remember, as my grandpapa, our grandpapa used to say when I walked out of his home when I was a kid up in Scranton, he said, "Joey, keep the faith." And our grandmother, when she was alive, she yelled, "No, Joey, spread it. Spread the faith. God love you all. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops." Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President-elect Joe Biden making his...
All right. Well, I saw one person comment, so much for sleepy Joe Biden, and I think that's pretty spot on. That was it's hard not to be it's hard not to get emotional. I know a lot of people had said the same thing in the speech, that a lot of people were crying during that speech. But it's I think that after so long, the amount of time that we've spent working toward this from this point 4 years ago, and how bad we thought it could be, and how much worse it ended up being, and just the amount of energy and enthusiasm and work, and also despair that we had along the way. It was it's nice to finally get a moment to exhale and to know that there's a lot of good things in front of us, and this is a person who is who we've worked really, really, really hard. I know the entire world was watching that, and I think he beyond delivered. So that was the president-elect Joe Biden giving his first address to the country as the next president of the United States, the 46th president, and that's where we're at right now. So I think let's see. I can answer some questions. I know that people have been asking questions in the meantime. So if you have them, just throw them my way, and we'll do a couple minutes, and then we'll get some sleep, because we can sleep easy knowing that there's going to be competent, qualified, empathetic, decent people in charge. And I think that speech right there is a testament to that. So let's see. A lot of people are talking about a pardon for Trump. I don't think that would be something that would be on the table. Something tells me that even Joe Biden, as somebody who is, who cares deeply about unifying the country, I don't think that anybody's looking to absolve him of any responsibility. So that's some good news. With that said, what's the latest on a concession speech by Trump? Look, I haven't heard a word about a concession speech by Trump. I think it could be 2024 and we won't have heard a concession speech from Trump. Trump's entire brand is predicated on this victimhood, right? On being aggrieved and being his whole political career, his whole career has been predicated on this idea that the whole world is rigged against him, even though he is a multi-millionaire. So woe is me, right? So, even when he won the election in 2016, he still said it was rigged. He said there were 3 to 5 million illegal votes cast against him. It is the same song and dance. He said there were the elections in 2018 were rigged. The blue wave that came in and flipped the House, gave us 40 seats in the House. It is always the same story, different day. When all Trump's got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so that's what we're seeing more of and more of. Will we get a concession speech from Trump? I doubt it. I wouldn't put my money on it. So he'll continue stomping his feet and pounding the table, and ultimately it won't matter, because what you saw right there from Joe Biden is the fact that is an acknowledgement that he's going to be the next president of the United States. So if it takes until January 20th and somebody needs to drag that guy out of the White House kicking and screaming, well, there's Secret Service and there's Capitol Hill police officers to do that. So if he wants to put himself in that position, he can. But in the meantime, I guess he can hinge all of his hopes on Rudy Giuliani and Pam Bondi and Eric Trump, the all-star dream team that he's assembled, the legal dream team that he's put together to try to claim that voter fraud is happening en masse. And they'll continue holding press conferences in alleys across from sex shops all across the country. And I wish them the best of luck, because they will need it. So let's talk real quick about the effect of what could be a Republican Senate on Biden's presidency. And that would be basically the ability to obstruct most of his agenda, if not everything. I mean, a lot Biden would be able to accomplish by executive order, but not nearly to the scale that it needs to be to enact climate change legislation, to enact legislation that would expand healthcare for Americans, passing relief for coronavirus for a country that has already dealt with 250,000 deaths, massive unemployment. We've lost 11 million jobs since the beginning of this crisis. So that is something that needs to be dealt with, not to mention LGBT rights, not to mention a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body and women's reproductive rights and protecting those, not to mention raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Basically, everything that we have on our agenda that we fought so hard in electing Joe Biden to accomplish, that could be put at risk with a Republican Senate. So I think the most important thing that we have to look toward right now is this runoff, these 2 runoff races in Georgia, and that's with Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, both of the Democrats running for office in the state of Georgia. So over the course of the next 2 months, you're going to hear me speak about this probably on a daily basis, and I hope that everybody's ready to celebrate tonight, but then ready to start fighting again tomorrow, because the work isn't done, and it's going to take an effort by everybody, and take all of the energy that you were using to win these races, Senate or House or president, in Arizona and Florida and Texas, Maine, Iowa, every single state across the country that you've put so much work into and so much effort into, your money donating, your time, phone banking and texting, trying to convince family and friends, loved ones, neighbors, coworkers who didn't vote in 2016 to vote in 2020, who voted for Trump in 2016 to change their vote to Joe Biden in 2020. All of that effort and energy you expended, pinpoint it to the state of Georgia, because that's where we're going to need it. It is our one last final push. I would love nothing more, doing what I do, to be able to push this administration from the left and say we need more progressive legislation. We need to guarantee a livable wage for all Americans. We need to make sure that all women are protected when it comes to their reproductive rights. We need to make sure that the most Americans possible, if not all of them, have access to health coverage in this country. But to be able to do that, to have the privilege of being able to push a Democratic Party from the left, we need to be able to take the Senate. So these last 2 months are pivotal. We have one final shot to make up for what was almost lost before David Perdue dropped below that 50% threshold. So we have 2 runoffs coming in Georgia. And keep in mind, too, that this is a state that Democrats have proven that we can win in. We're just coming off of right now we have an 8,000 vote lead in the state of Georgia. So what this has shown us is that we can win in Georgia. All it takes is just a little bit more of a fight. Also, consider the fact that Donald Trump won't be on the ballot this time. And for as much as everybody watching, I'm sure, despises him, we can't deny the fact that he's able to turn out his base. He's able to turn out Republicans, because while Joe Biden was able to, reach a record number of people voting for him in this election, so was Donald Trump. So that's the most important thing looking forward, is that now Donald Trump won't be on the ballot. And what remains to be seen is whether he would actually stick his neck out for a Republican in a race that has nothing to do with him, because everything Donald Trump does is transactional. Everything he does is for his own benefit. And so if this is just a moment where all he has to do is appeal to his better sense of benevolence for the party, it's very unlikely that he'll be able to actually do that. But regardless, without his name on that ballot, they're at a huge disadvantage. So let's continue to build on the momentum that we've created thus far, and continue to fight for the next 2 months, tooth and nail, everything that you've done over the last 4 years to try to get us to where we are today. If you can just keep it going for 60 more days, and then we will basically have carte blanche to be able to finally see the fruits of our labor. We're this close. So, it's going to take a team effort. This is clearly not something that can be done just by leaving the organizing to the people with big megaphones or media companies or the campaign. This is a grassroots effort. This takes everybody, and most importantly is the people sitting at home, the people who reached out to their own parents, their own brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, sons and daughters, and that's what's going to have the biggest impact. It's the one-on-one human connections, and so that's going to always be more effective than a campaign mailer, than a TV commercial, or a text from a volunteer, or a phone call from a volunteer. That's going to be the number one most important thing. So everybody watching here, and I know there's a lot of people watching right now, you do have an obligation to do whatever you can. If you're lucky enough to live in Georgia right now, we're looking to you. So that's my pitch. Take tonight to celebrate, and tomorrow the work begins. So with that said, the last thing I'll ask is, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. That's the best and only way that I'll ever ask you to support me. So please hit the subscribe button on my channel. I won't ask for money. It's free to subscribe. I post a couple videos a day. They're usually no more than between 5 and 8 minutes long, and I try to give you a clear, concise summary of everything that's happened during the day. So again, if you're looking to support me, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find my podcast, which is No Lie, with Brian Tyler Cohen. It's on any podcast platform that you use. So with that said, thank you all so much for not only watching, but for your energy and your enthusiasm and your perseverance through what has been 4 years of absolute hell. It has tested, everybody's resolve and our spirits. And I think just to kind of finally have this win has just given us a vindication that feels as good as I think we could have imagined. So thank you again to everybody for watching and for watching on my channel and supporting me here. So get some sleep tonight. Enjoy the celebration. Crack open a bottle of beer and some wine, and tomorrow we get back to work, because it's not done. All right. Thanks, everybody.